Thank you for joining us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. While they have many valuable uses, we have become addicted to single-use or disposable plastics with severe environmental consequences. Around the world, 1 million plastic drinking bottles are purchased every minute, while 5 trillion single-use plastic bags are used worldwide every year. In total, half of all plastics produced is designed to be used only once and then thrown away. Plastic waste is now so ubiquitous in the natural environment that scientists have even suggested it could serve as a geological indicator of the Anthropocene era. Yeah, the big word there. Well, we've been told if current trends continue, our oceans could contain more plastic than fish by 2050. The good news is many people are doing their bit all over the world. We want to look at these on today's Earthfile, and we start right here in Lagos. Just stay with us. 15-year-old climate activist Esohe Ozigbo struts a catwalk in an outfit made from discarded polybags in Lagos. Plastic waste is ubiquitous in the megacity, the commercial capital of Nigeria, with a population of more than 20 million people, where dropping litter is commonplace. To reinforce their message about the extent of the waste in Lagos, Esohe and her fellow activists attach plastic to fabric to create garments they wear in their annual Trashion Show.
The Trashion Show means a lot to me. I've been doing it for years, and it's like a way of showcasing to everyone what we can do with the trash we so carelessly discard. And I really think it's just like us making a statement and showing that we care about the environment, and you should too, because we're just teenagers, but we're trying to make a change in the world.
Green Fingers Garden, a not-for-profit conservation group funded by donations, works with young people to stage the shows in shopping malls. The goal is to mix creativity with advocacy.
And that was why we actually went out with this. So the students are the ones, together we went out, we picked up the plastic, we cleaned the environment. But rather than just taking everything maybe to a dumping site or so, we felt we'd get creative with it. So we decided to spruce things up and start the fashion show, the Trashion Show.
Recently, Esohe and her group waded through a mass of plastic bottles, food containers and bags that have blocked a waterway. Wearing gloves and masks, they pick up the discarded plastic and drop them into refuse bags. Their aim is to enable water to flow around the waterway in the city's Shongotedo district that was constructed to prevent flooding, while raising awareness of the problems caused by single-use plastic.
We are the generation who are going to be leading in a few years, and the older people, at the end of the day, they will end up leaving this earth and we'll be the ones left with it. So we need to start now, because in a few years it's going to be too late to do anything.
Esohe, who cites Swedish teenage climate activist Greta Thunberg as her inspiration, says she hopes the shows make shoppers think about their actions. Other young environmentally conscious Nigerians may have already lost hope. Photographer Abdurazak Babalola created a series of concept images about single-use plastic in 2019.
I did this project in 2019, and since then, nothing has really changed. Nothing. Let's be honest with ourselves. Nothing has really changed. And if we don't restore the earth right now, the negative effect is going to have on us. We won't be able to handle it.
Esohe and her counterparts don't intend to ever give up, whether they have to get down and dirty or clean up nice for the cause. Mismanaged plastic waste and unsustainable plastics production are commonplace in the country. Challenges include thin capacity and investment in waste collection and recycling, varying levels of awareness of sustainable practices among businesses and consumers, and the niche nature of innovative and alternative models supporting reduce and reuse. In 2018, Nigeria was estimated to have discharged around 200,000 tons of plastic waste, into the ocean per year, while its annual plastics production is projected to grow to 523,000 tons by 2022. So far, the Extended Producers Responsibility Program of Nigeria has been the closest working government policy tackling plastics waste in Nigeria, a program that originated from Sweden in the 1990s as a policy strategy to encourage environmentally responsible product manufacturing and disposal. Nigeria first published its EPR operational guidelines in 2014 and commenced operation in 2016, starting with a sector that probably produces the largest amount of plastic waste in the country, the food and beverage industry. The idea is to make manufacturers or brand owners responsible for the entire life cycle of the product, particularly their take-back, recycling, and final disposal.
The EPR program is now, we have started it. Presently we have 3 sectors. One of them is the food and beverage sector, which generates most of the domestic waste we use, especially the plastics, packaging of the food substance, and also other items. So the stakeholders, they have come together, they have set up their producer responsibility organization. And this PRO now is trying to see how they are going to incentivize the collection of this waste and also the recycling on behalf of the manufacturers, the importers. So the role of Nigeria is to provide the oversight function to ensure that they do the right thing. Not only the food and beverage sector, we also have the EPR for the electronic waste. You know, Nigeria is one of the countries that receive a lot of second-hand electronics. When they come, they pack up and they become serious environmental hazards. Presently, the people do recycle most of these things, but it impacts much in the environment. They burn most of the plastic cases after removing the useful components. And it's not good for the environment, so we are also implementing the circular economy in that sector. We have the PRO that is called the US Producer Organization of Nigeria, EPRO. So presently, stakeholders are keen in, and we also have pilot projects in Lagos where we intend to collect 300 tons of e-waste to showcase the best way to go about the collection and the recycling in the best manner. So after doing that, we hope to replicate not only in other states of Nigeria, but other African countries.
Another attempt to regulate the mounting problem of plastic waste was made in 2018 when a member of the House of Representatives introduced the Plastic Bags Prohibition Bill. The bill sought to prohibit the use, manufacture, and importation of all single-use plastic bags used for commercial and household packaging. It also prescribed heavy penalties for offenders, including imprisonment. Although the House of Representatives passed the bill in 2019, it was never signed into law. Meanwhile, the national policy on plastic waste management is the most current and comprehensive effort to promote the sustainable use of plastic through life cycle management. It builds on the National Policy on the Environment of 1991 and the 2018 National Policy on Solid Waste Management that was developed to govern the waste sector. The policy, which continues to be under consideration since 2018, aims, among other things, to reduce plastic waste generation in the environment by 50% of its baseline figure of 2020 by 2025, to phase out single-use plastic bags and styrofoam by 2028, and to ensure that all plastic packaging in the market is recyclable or biodegradable by 2030. In January 2021, the federal government announced that it will join the Global Plastic Action Partnership alongside Indonesia, Ghana, and Vietnam to advance national efforts to fight plastic pollution. In joining GPAP, Nigeria will work with the World Economic Forum to launch a national plastic action partnership based on a promising model that has been piloted in Indonesia, Ghana, and Vietnam. Its principal mandates will include creating and working with locally led, locally driven platforms such as the Federal Ministry of Environment and the African Development Bank coordinated Nigeria Circular Economy Working Group. to bring together the country's most influential policymakers, business leaders, and civil society advocates. The goal is to deliver a national action plan for radically reducing plastic pollution, connecting high-potential solutions with strategic financing opportunities. To fund this project, the British government, through its Blue Planet Fund, delivered £16.2 million for 5 programs to tackle climate change, restore ocean health, and reduce poverty in developing countries, including Nigeria. The programs, financed from the UK's overseas aid budget, will increase marine protection, tackle plastic pollution in Nigeria and 3 other countries.
I hope Nigeria takes this opportunity, uses this funding to good effect here. I'm delighted that the Ministry of Environment has just recently set up, a sort of circular economy group. And it's not just public officials, but that will include the private sector and also CSOs. So it really is an inclusive approach to tackling the scourge of plastic waste. And I'm pretty certain it's going to be successful.
More recent scenarios have suggested that due to end-user demand for plastic products on the continent, by 2060, 8 African countries will be in the top 10 nations with the highest plastic waste generation rate. Overall, this results in large volumes of waste ending up in open and uncontrolled dump sites. 18 of the 50 largest dump sites are located on the continent, but across Africa, many are looking at solving the problem. As Ivorian painter Aristide Kwame combs the beach dragging a trash bag of waterlogged flip-flops, he knew most other beachgoers thought him either a desperate trader or a madman. Little did they know that when 26-year-old Kwame is tired of collecting rubber scraps that had washed up along Abidjan's coast, he would take them home, cut them into pieces and plaster them across a canvas valued at nearly $1,000.
This is waste that men dumped into the sea, and the sea brings it back to us because she doesn't want it. The environment doesn't want the negative things that man gives away, so the sea brings everything back to us.
Around 13 million tons of plastic waste are dumped into the world's ocean each year, according to the United Nations. 2 of Africa's worst culprits, Ghana and Nigeria, occupy the same coastline from which Kwame collects his supplies. Sitting on the floor of a narrow alley, Kwame carves shapes, letters and faces into the rubber soles. He makes his own paint by grinding what scraps remain into piles of Technicolor pigment. Kwame's material choice are both artistic and economic.
Why do I talk about recycling and recuperation? Because it's a way for me to fight against pollution. I tell myself that the waste that man dumps in the water, the sea, nature doesn't want it and gives it back to us. So I recuperate all this and give it a second life through my work. When I go pick up, there are a lot of questions such as, what will I do with all of this? Will you sell the flip-flops? I simply respond that I am an artist, and by picking up this waste, I am removing this burden on nature. I am removing something that disturbs the beach because I don't like to see it dirty.
Kwame's work ranged from large portraits of civil rights leaders to abstracts evoking societal ills like climate change, COVID-19, and wealth inequality. All are made from old shoes they found floating in the ocean. Kwame's most recent work represents a woman and a child wearing masks and words made with engraved flip-flops that say COVID and confinement.
This work is about COVID-19 because that's what dominates the news these days. As an artist, I consider myself a witness of my time. That's why I produce this work, not only to show that this is a dangerous disease, but also being an additional push in the fight against this disease. These faces for me, they represent society. These faces next to each other is humankind, and humankind needs an environment that is pleasant to live in.
Over a short career, Kwame has blossomed into one of Ivory Coast's more original and provocative working artists. His unique methods have garnered wide acclaim, and his art has hung in galleries throughout West Africa and part of Europe. On a recent afternoon in a chic neighborhood in southern Abidjan, several of Kwame's works hung in a gallery, often visited by foreign art collectors.
D'aller chercher ces tongs sur le bord des plages, donc déjà être acteur pour préserver la planète, les côtes, et ensuite
to go and seek these flip-flops on the beaches, it means he is an actor in the preservation of the planet, the coastline. And then, thanks to his reasoning and analysis, he manages to restore the owners of each flip-flop by carving profiles on these flip-flops, which is a difficult and delicate work. It's almost like he finds their owners, thus telling a story. All these flip-flops associated together is our world. I liked this process, this involvement, both environmental and artistic.
Kampala, Uganda's capital, churns out 1,000 tons of garbage per day. According to the East African country's National Environment Management Authority, most of it ends up as litter in the city, clogging vital sewage and drainage systems, causing flooding and creating unfavorable sanitation conditions. But what many see as trash was viewed as a solution-based business opportunity by entrepreneur Faith Aweko. Faith and her employees turned plastic waste from sites like the well-known Katizi landfill site into fashionable handbags. As a young girl, she often came up against the harmful effect of the plastic that littered the low-income area she lived in. It's an environmental problem experienced around the world. Used plastic shopping bags are some of the main culprits that pollute oceans and create untold environmental damage to a variety of ecosystems.
I like to call myself a wastepreneur because I deal in waste, and this is something that most people don't want to associate with waste, plastics, dump sites, garbage, and yet this is something that is providing employment to women who are collecting the waste, to women who are sorting, to women who are washing, and also women who are processing and making the beautiful bags that Reform Africa is making. And then we are also able to provide an income for ourselves and the other employees. And I'm also championing in saving the environment.
Faith and her Reform Africa team regularly collect, wash, and hang out discarded plastic bags from Kampala's dump site. She says the jobs and positive effect on the environment she is creating more than make up for all the hard work and criticism she sometimes encounters. Once the bags are clean and dry, she uses what she calls a heat presser to flatten and fuse them together. The pieces are then cut into patterns and stitched together to create colorful bags and accessories. Faith currently employs 8 women whom she hired and trained from the surrounding community. Part of her vision for the Reform Africa project is to encourage more Ugandans to recycle and help people learn new income-generating skills. Faith is a graduate of the Social Innovation Academy outside of Kampala, which helps young aspiring social entrepreneurs take their ideas to market. Her bags sell for between $16 and $25. She has deals with several local shops and markets, heavily using social media platforms to land more clients in the West.
We have shops both here in Uganda and also in Europe. In Uganda here we have 6 shops, 4 in Kampala and 2 upcountry that retail our products on a commission base. And we also do wholesale to international market. We have over 8 shops that wholesale our products. That's in America and also in Europe.
Faith not only hopes to make a mark with her brand, but that her bags will also help spark conversations about environmental awareness, recycling, and waste management in her country. Many have seen the idea of waste to wealth as the 21st century reality. The new research produced by scientists and industry experts for the Pew Charitable Trust and Systemic offers solutions that could cut the projected volume of plastic entering the ocean by more than 80%. The roadmap for stemming the runaway ocean plastic waste crisis is among the most detailed ever offered in a study. If no action is taken, however, the amount of plastic going into the sea every year will rise from 11 million tons to 29 million tons, leaving a cumulative 600 million tons swilling in the ocean by 2040, the equivalent weight of 3 million blue whales.
Plastic pollution is something that affects everyone. It isn't your problem and not my problem. It's not one country's problem. It's everyone's problems because all people, all communities, all governments around the world recognize that it's a problem. It's impacting communities. In some places, waste are clogging up waterways, causing flooding. In other places, they're washing up on beaches and people are not able to enjoy their vacation. In some communities, it's affecting fisheries. So it has really broad impacts across society, and it's something we see ourselves. So people are experiencing the impacts, they're seeing it, and the biggest problem to all of this is it's going to get worse if we don't do anything.
The strategy laid out in the report includes redirecting hundreds of billions of dollars in plastic production investment into alternative materials, recycling facilities, and waste collection expansion in developing countries. This would require a U-turn by the energy industry, which is rapidly building new chemical plants around the world to boost plastic output as its traditional fuel business is eroded by a rise in cleaner energy sources. The amount of plastic produced annually has been climbing fast since 1950, when global production totaled 2 million tons. In 2017, that number was 348 million tons and is expected to double again by 2040.
If it were up to us, we would be putting more emphasis on the need for reduction and stemming production of plastics and putting restrictions in place, for the continuing production of disposable, particularly single-use plastics. At the same time, we'd be requiring corporations and companies who are, the main purveyors of disposable plastics to invest in alternative delivery systems.
Big plastic makers, including ExxonMobil, Dow, and Chevron Phillips Chemical, have said they are committed to tackling plastic pollution despite increasing production. The projects they fund focus on cleaning up waste. The study recommends that government implement laws to discourage new plastic production and provide subsidies for reusable alternatives.
If industry were allowed to continue with their projections of growth, let's say until 2050, which quadruples production during this time, most of the recommendations from this report would be meaningless.
The plastic industry has lobbied against government bans on single-use plastic. Some of the biggest buyers of plastic are consumer goods companies like Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Nestle, and Unilever. They have all made commitment to use a greater amount of recycled content in products in the future. But current government and corporate commitment will only reduce the amount of plastic flowing into the ocean by 7% by 2040, the Pew and Systemic study finds. To cut the flow of ocean plastic by 80%, paper or compostable alternatives to single-use plastic will be needed, and packaging should be redesigned to more than double the share of recyclable material, the study says.
So far, the discussion has been very polarized, where we had different opinions camps whose propositions went unreconciled. There were some, we have to get away from plastic altogether. There were some who say, look, this is something that can easily be burned and buried. It's not that much, and it's efficiently stored in landfills. There are others who say that we can clean up later. We have done this many times during eras of very strong economic growth. There has been an ecological overshoot. There's enough time to address it later. Again, there are others who tell us we can just recycle ourselves out of it. And again, there are others that tell us that there needs to be a bio-revolution where we are creating a new material that actually is benign to and compatible with nature. So all of these different positions have sort of a very small kernel of truth, but in their absoluteness, they're absolutely wrong. And that's why we wanted to have a reconciliation of those points. And our report is fairly strong in saying that the most efficient solution to get out of the crisis is, in fact, to dematerialize our demand for what today is single-use plastic.
Some criticized the study's inclusion of incineration, chemical recycling, and plastic-to-fuel plants as ways to dispose of waste, saying these methods involve the release of climate-warming carbon emissions while also helping to sustain plastic production. The global volume of plastic waste continues to grow, and some of the biggest producers don't manage their waste effectively. Africa stands out as the continent where the most countries have adopted a total ban on the production and use of plastic bags. Although Nigeria hasn't joined the league, we've seen a lot of positive action. But the truth is, we all need to do more. And with that, we end today's program. Do join us next week. From all of us here in Lagos, it's bye for now.